What's up, you guys? I just found the other half of one of the uh, paragraphs about the DMT clowns and jesters that I read at like one of my beginning videos. This is like the other half of it. So I just wanted to read that, and I also found more people talking about experiencing jesters just by Googling it. I tried doing that and actually found some pretty interesting stuff. But let me just read this first. The DMT experience can encapsulate motifs from pretty much all of the world's ancient cultures. Some of the motifs that are reported include Egyptian hieroglyphs, pyramids, Egyptian deities, Sanskrit, Arabic, or Hebrew type letters, religious temples, the Buddha, Hindu goddesses, Persian and paisley patterns, African motifs, and so forth and so on. One motif of the DMT experience, which isn't so ancient, but which Terence McKenna called the archetype of the DMT realm, is the circus. Many people report the DMT world being a circus or carnival full of fast-moving, colorful, bright, and strange entertainments. The entities in the DMT world can take on the forms of jesters, clowns, or colorfully dressed trapeze artists. Although obviously not so completely human-like, my guess is that these playful, cheerful, entertaining jester-like entities who perform acrobatics and perform magic are expressions of an archetype, perhaps the archetype of the trickster found in Jung's model of the collective unconscious. Why they manifest during the DMT experience I do not know, nor why they appear to be so inviting and welcoming. Alright, so I just came by another report. Holy crap, I don't know why I didn't Google this in the first place. This one's actually on DMT Nexus. This guy, Spiritual 7 Pioneer. This is now the third time that I've come across jester entities. This time, the jester in question were in a tubular sphere, and they were moving about and snickering at me. The area around them was all checkered black and white. Note that, as well as their skin-tight costumes. Every time I see these things, I tell them I don't want to be around them and for them to leave me alone. They make me feel very uneasy. I cannot figure out whether this entity may exist, or is it just some subconscious issue that is pestering me deep within. Have you ever seen a jester? How did they make you feel? I've seen some jesters. It's hard to remember. It's hard to remember colors now. They were really cute and rolled around. One was in front of some purple window thing. I saw one with a drama mask face that had like energy streams going around it. I really enjoyed my contact with the jester. Maybe I'm just more in tune with my dark side. I found the entity to be very playful in almost a sarcastic and condescending way, and I thoroughly welcomed it. I found after I accepted it, the fabric of hyperspace seemed to expand, and he joined other entities in a completely synchronous dance with the music I was listening to. Well, in my first, say, 20 hits of DMT were all herbal blends with no full breakthroughs. The buzz was always an overall sensation. Then I tried crystal, and I was dissolved and blasted through a wormhole and oceans of the universe, and my brother called out to me as I was lying still for 20 minutes. I was in a realm of color, and then a shape materialized through to me, and it was my brother's head, all scaly like trillions of gemstones dripping down his face. He then said, "I look like a jester, eh?" And he laughed, his hair turning into jester bells clanging. LOL, he has one of his front teeth missing, so it really looked like a jester hard. In preceding DMT herbal trips, I have had a jester clown image show itself like a theme image hologram. It was not threatening, but it did have a very menacing laugh energy that seemed to be the DMT trip's energy. Sometimes the energy would emit from its eyes outward. The last trip, my second crystal venture formed a new entity, my first completely formed entity, it was real where I was. Jesters are entities that I see most often. There are several, countless types of them. I've even thought that they had nothing to do with jesters, but they were only wearing a type of colorful hyperspace outfit that makes us label them as jesters. But there are some rather nice jesters, but sometimes I just tell them to fuck off, as they are nasty as nasty can be. By the way, the first DMT entity I saw was a jester embracing a code ball. Only one can also use the search for jester and see there are topics to be found. Let me just find more. Sure, nearly every time lately, sort of a hybrid between a jester and a Baphomet type dude. Very mischievous, slightly threatening, but generally I consider him a type of doorman that I need to answer to in order to go into deeper into the space I'm in. I'm intrigued into the origins of this type of visions. It seems so common. I thought that it was only a collage of early childhood experiences and fairy story books that I would have been introduced to at that time. I've seen jester women dancers, very slim and good dancers. I have only seen hyperspace once. The circus theme and a couple of jesters were turning around me. As mentioned by a few others, I agree that they seem to welcome to travelers to hyperspace. While beginning to focus on hyperspace, I seen jesters begin to wander across my vision until one of them stays to greet. The single remaining jester, in the couple times I've seen him, then proceeds to show me a mechanical device of sorts. It was an old piece of machinery with about 3/4 TV screens lined up horizontally. The TVs would then begin rotating vertically, bringing even more TV screens into view. The jester then spoke telepathically. This is what's happening. My friend has encountered jesters many times. They can be unnerving, but she tries to maintain a sense of humor about them. I'd be interested to see how stating your intentions goes beforehand. I saw a smiling jester face behind a purple screen-like thing on a salvia trip that I just partook in. And then, so this is the last one that I found on Reddit, so I'll just start reading. Jesters. Anyone else experience this? If I smoke 10 to 15 milligrams, I begin to free float through rooms within a psychedelic temple playhouse. As soon as I can discern what direction I'm traveling in, I change bearings, always catching up to the logic of this place. And there are these playful jester-type beings who are always like, hey, it's you again, and start bouncing around in and out of frame. Is it just me, right? This isn't just me, right? I seen the jesters. It was on one of my bad trips and they really fucked with me. The jesters are a common archetype in the hallucinations from various psychedelics. I've communicated with a group of these jester-like beings on LSD. Our relationship was similar to the guys on Jackass with each other, but I've heard of these types of personalities manifesting in hallucinations or visions from others before. I saw one once. He materialized at the end of my couch, a floating, glimmering, multicolored figure. He stared at me for a minute or so and then looked to his left. Seemed to get distracted by some of the more interesting and floated through the wall and out of sight. Yeah, I've run into the jesters a few times. Sometimes they are very joyful and dancing and singing. They have really fucked with me before, though. My jester is a disembodied face that follows me around, giving off the same vibe. Was the background of your place white with all of the colored patterns layered on top? If so, this is exactly like my strongest breakthrough. I've seen jesters. They felt kind of neutral. My first time, when I couldn't quite break through, they were teasing me towards a bright light, kind of all dancing around it and chanting my name. The second time, I saw them for a moment before the breakthrough. I also saw jesters my first time and didn't break through. I saw jesters my first time. It wasn't exactly scared of them, but the more annoyed that they were blocking my path to the other side. The near Then near the end, a jester came out of nowhere and then threw a blue vial of light at me. I ended up dodging it, but was wondering what would have happened if I let it hit me or confronted it. And check out some of this artwork that I found just by searching DMT Jester into Google Images. I can already find like a lot of people drawing like really interesting sketches about DMT and Jesters. So, like, at what point does this evidence, stop becoming anecdotal and start becoming something that we should look into? Like, how many more things do we need to read before we can say, okay, maybe this isn't coincidence. Maybe there's something going on here that's kind of strange, you know? Like, it just seems to me that there's an overwhelming amount of evidence, but no one really wants to look into this, and I find that kind of disappointing, I guess.